Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. This evening, the Mumbai High Court ruled that no IPL matches can be played in Maharashtra after the 30th of April. Is that a rational decision, or has emotion and perhaps prejudice clouded our judgment? Will the water saved make a meaningful difference, or is it tokenism and symbolism? And has IPL been targeted rather than Maharashtra's water-guzzling sugarcane and its government? Tonight, we raise many questions, some of them obvious, but some troubling. My guests are one of India's top sociologists, Shiv Vishwanathan, the spokesperson of Lok Satta, Rakesh Singh, the well-known former cricketer, Saad bin Jung, the former editor-in-chief of the Times of India, Dilip Padgaonkar, the chairman of Oxus Investments, Surjit Bhalla, and the chairman of the Bharat Krishak Samaj Farmers Forum, Ajay Veer Jakar. Professor Vishwanathan, the BCCI had offered to pay 10 crore to the Chief Minister's Drought Relief Fund. On top of that, they'd offered to send 64 lakh litres of water to the drought-affected areas of Maharashtra in return for letting the IPL matches go ahead. But instead, the High Court has ruled that all matches after the 30th of April have to be shifted out of the state. Do you think the High Court has rejected a good offer?
I think the High Court rejected more than a good offer. I hate to say it, but the High Court is performing a certain kind of emotional blackmail. And I think we have to understand this seriously. Because I think what you're seeing is an act of hysteria and hypocrisy rather than of analysis. Yes, IPL is an act of conspicuous consumption. But you don't analyze it by comparing it with other acts of conspicuous consumption. You need a certain kind of ethic or aesthetics for it. What we're doing is we're clobbering each other with statistics about water wastage, sugarcane consumption. I mean, it's a pity. Why don't you line up all the hotels, all the sugarcane farms, and you'll see that the politics of wastage is something we have never considered seriously in India.
Rakesh Singh, I want to first concentrate on the offer that was rejected by the High Court before I come to all the other issues Professor Vishwanathan touched on. Look at it like this. If IPL matches are not allowed, the Chief Minister's Drought Relief Fund will not get 10 crores and the drought-affected regions will not get 64 lakh litres of water. Now, at a time when water and money are essential, not only is IPL losing out, but I put it to you, farmers are losing out and the state is losing out. Everyone's losing out from this judgment. No one's the gainer.
I disagree with you. It's not the case of... I beg your pardon?
Please carry on talking. I can hear you.
I disagree with you. It's not the case of everybody losing. On the contrary, it's the case of everybody winning. High Court, in all its wisdom, as I said last time, money cannot be a substitute for water. And High Court has very rightly said, like, look, you are getting sufficient time, have some alternate strategy, and shift matches outside Maharashtra from 1st of May.
Can I interrupt?
I mean, this is the most...
Can I interrupt? Money is not a substitute for water, but without money, getting water to places where there is no water is pretty impossible. Here you have an organization offering 10 crore, which is not a miserable and small sum of money. Secondly, they are offering 64 lakh litres of water, which is a sizable sum because that's what you were complaining about being used on the pitches. Now, if all of that is no longer going to go to farmers who need it, it's no longer going to go to the drought relief fund that needs it, the state loses, the farmers lose.
Certainly, state does not lose, nor does the farmers. Now, this is, as we said last time, Lok Satta's stand from day one had been that we are not against IPL. What we are targeting is the wastage of water. And certainly, IPL as an entertainment is a wastage of water. This is an interim relief that has been granted by Bombay High Court. Now, the matter will again come up after 2 weeks. There is going to be an elaborate discussion on the issues.
The problem is we don't know what will happen in 2 weeks' time. We can only talk about what's happened today. The question that was raised over there, and I'm going to put it to you, Ajay Veer Jakar, is whether there is wastage of water happening. Now, the IPL has said that they will not be using potable water. They will be using retreated sewage water, and clearly, retreated sewage water cannot be drunk by farmers. It probably cannot be drunk by cattle. So, is the court right in feeling that IPL would have somehow gained at the cost of farmers? Because those farmers were not going to want retreated sewage water.
So there are two different issues. First of all, I think the High Court is completely wrong in saying that the matches should not take place, because if matches took place in Maharashtra, Maharashtra would have gained a lot of revenue, taxes, and that would have been much more than the 10 crores that's been on offer. But at the same time, it must be understood that the water that was retreated could be used on the farms. It's happening all over the world. But the amount of water that...
As farm water rather
Yes.
than drinking?
Yes, only farm water. But at the same time, what is the amount of water that is being used at the stadium is minuscule of what's required for sugarcane farming or for other farmings. I think the matches should have gone on, and those revenues could have been directed towards revenues that the state got because of the IPL matches should have been used for farming.
I'm very happy to hear you say that, because you say that in fact as the president of a farmers forum.
Yeah.
You've taken a rational view. Sujit Bala, do you get the feeling that it's not facts but emotion and perhaps prejudice that has colored the judgment we've got?
Well, I'm glad you said emotions and prejudice, because here is the High Court involved, and I guess since once the judgment is passed, we can criticize it, and we don't have that contempt of court standing either above you or me. I think this is one of the most stupid court decisions that I've ever heard of happening in any country in the world. Forget even banana republics. This is unthinkable. I mean, how? I don't understand it. The best I can say is this is stupid beyond compare.
Dilip Padgankar, much of the emotion that was whipped up by a couple of TV channels, and B, some sections of the print media, both of whom kept saying that IPL is concerned about profit, IPL is concerned about brand value, IPL doesn't care about human lives. Do you believe that was a correct press characterization or a deeply misleading and mistaken one?
Karan, had the BCCI made the offer that it did subsequently more than a month ago, things would have taken a different turn. The drought situation in Maharashtra doesn't date back to 10 days. It's been there for weeks and weeks now. All media have been covering the shortages, the tremendous distress faced particularly in Marathwada. And had the BCCI, say, even a month ago, said that we are going ahead, this is the amount of money we are offering, more will be given, this is the amount of water that we'll be offering, that happened only when there was pressure built up. So I think the BCCI was completely out of touch with the general mood. I mean, forget what the channels did and what certain newspapers did. The fact is, I live in Pune, and I can tell you, people around me were saying that, look, why is so much water being wasted on an entertainment like the IPL? And you try to reason with them, but they won't listen because the matter has become extremely emotional. Also, Karan, sometimes, alas, symbols matter. And here in this case, suddenly the IPL became a symbol of opulence, of waste, of the rich trying to make a quick buck. And as someone put it to me this morning, cash spoke louder than conscience.
You know, Saad bin Jang, so far we've taken the line in questioning that symbolism and tokenism and emotion and perhaps prejudice have trumped rational thinking, facts and logic. But there's a lot to be said when there's a drought for symbols, for images, for impressions, because they dominate people's thinking. And do you accept Dilip Padgankar's point that on that level, IPL lacked sensitivity? They actually lacked the awareness of a situation that was steadily developing for weeks and months. Because one of the comments the judges made is the following, and this was made to IPL: you care more about the death of pitches than people and cattle who are dying every day. It's that sort of symbol, that sort of sensitivity, that sort of imagery that the IPL and BCCI were foolishly blind to.
Karan, if you remember when we sat last couple of days ago, and we said that if you can link the transport of water from the sporting venues to Latur, then it makes sense to cancel the IPL. Otherwise, stopping the IPL or making the IPL a symbolic sacrifice makes absolutely no sense. So unless the court has ordered the state and given the state 2 weeks of time to get its mechanism ready to transport the water from these venues to Latur, this order makes no sense to me. But if it has, then, and it has given the state 2 weeks to work on, then it makes a lot of sense. Then it becomes sport over life, and life of course comes first. But if the court has not ordered this water to be transported in rakes or in tankers, then I'm afraid I'm completely lost for words, because symbols really make no difference to the politicians. I'm surprised that our judiciary actually looks at symbolic acts, because they know it makes no sense or no difference to this world.
The line of questioning I've taken up till now hinges on the fact that this court order means 10 crore that was needed by the drought relief fund won't be available, 64 lakh litres of water that would have helped won't be available, and secondly, it hinges on the fact that retreated sewage water cannot be drunk either by cattle or by farmers. At best, it can be used for farming purposes, but not drinking purposes. Now, if those facts are correct, has the High Court, as I'm suggesting, put emotion, put imagery, put symbolism ahead of cold facts, which would have actually benefited everyone?
I hate to say it, but I think there's a certain thing called High Court illiteracy, a bit like TV illiteracy. And I think one has to analyze it head on. I think there's no symbolism here. Symbolism is an act of intelligence where a symbol conveys the nature of a tragedy. I don't think anything is conveyed here. And to turn IPL into a moral body may not be the right thing to do. I think one has to be very clear about it. You play cricket, but if you think IPL is an ethics-making body, you are in deep trouble.
And so the High Court has actually got its logic and rationale completely wrong.
Yeah, the categories are confused.
Do you want to very quickly, Rakesh Singh, because you represent Lok Satta, the NGO that brought this case, you feel triumphant and understandably so by the judgment that was delivered today. Do you want to defend it? Because other than Dilip Padgankar, who took a slightly different line, absolutely no one on this panel is defending it, not even Ajay Veer Jakar, who represents the Farmers Forum. So do you want to defend the judgment?
First of all, the kind of language that is being used with regard to the judgment of High Court, I strongly object to that. Calling the judgment stupid, emotional, I think that is not correct.
Well, forgive me, it may not be correct in your eyes, but people have a right of freedom of speech, and criticizing a High Court judgment may be distasteful to you, but it is permissible and democratic and constitutional.
Calling it stupid.
Well, you may think it's stupid, others have a right to think the opposite. So let's get out of that discussion, because that's an irrelevant one. Come back to how you want to defend the judgment. That's what I'd like you to do if you wish to do it.
No, the question is, we don't see it as a victory or a loss. Let me put it very candidly. Now, for us, this is a judgment in right direction. The issue of water, and IPL, which is correlated. Now, this issue should have been addressed by the state government. Now, state government has failed to fulfill its duty, and that is why judiciary came into picture. So, therefore, to say that judiciary has done wrong
not
or it
against
is
the state
emotional or
government, they've
overstepped.
acted against IPL, and IPL was an innocent third party who was actually offering terms that would have helped the Chief Minister's Drought Relief Fund when it needs money. It would have delivered 64 lakh litres of water to a drought-affected area when it needs it, and IPL itself was only using non-potable, sewage-treated water which no one can drink. So I put it to you again, the judgment has got its values and facts mixed up and come up with a conclusion that no one seems to understand on this panel. How do you want to defend it? That's what I'm asking you. How do you want to defend it?
Mr. Thapar, to say that this judgment is wrong simply because they were using sewage water. Now, do you understand that this sewage water can be utilized for agriculture purposes? So to simply say that sewage water cannot be used, first. Second, BCCI came with the statement that they will get this water from Turf Club. Now, there are cases against Turf Club where Turf Club is alleged to have committed some irregularities there, and BCCI,
well, hang on a second.
Bombay
Turf Club
Municipal
irregularities are irrelevant to the fact that they're getting water from Turf Club. Don't mix up issues. You wanted to come in. Come in, Mr. Jakar.
No,
you're a farmer. You're a farmer.
No.
Shed some light on that point for us.
Let me just come back and say, I think so the lawyers who put forward the case on behalf of IPL were wrong. And now, what can 10 crores achieve? Rather than just saying 10 crores to the drought relief fund, what you should have said was that 10 crores will give drip irrigation for sugarcane farming. I'm just telling you what are the gains to 600 hectares of sugarcane farming, and that would lead to a gain of 8 crore liters of water every year for lifelong. So when you're comparing 60 lakh liters of water being wasted on this, that 10 crores would have got you 8 crore liters of water saving every year for the rest of our lives.
In other words, there was
how the water is going to be utilized is more important. And
So,
additionally,
can I just stop you there, because
yeah.
I want to clarify for the audience. You're saying that if, in fact, IPL lawyers had clarified how the 10 crore they were giving would be used,
if used for drip irrigation,
a convincing case.
Yes. So there's another point. What IPL should have also done was that we will use subsurface drip irrigation systems for the IPL grounds, and that itself would have saved them 50% of the annual water requirement.
Let me bring in Surjit Bhalla at that point. Surjit Bhalla, I want to put two questions to you. First is the question to do with what you've heard from Ajay Veer Jhakar, who speaks as a Farmers Forum president, who believes that the judgment was wrong, but he also believes that if the IPL lawyers had explained in more technical scientific terms how they would have advocated the use of the 10 crore they were giving, that would have helped agriculture. That would have also ensured cheaper water for stadia. Do you think IPL itself was mistaken in the way they presented their case?
Okay, I do not have any brief for either the IPL or in particular the BCCI. Having said that, let me just make it clear. My view is IPL should not offer a penny, a naya paisa, for this purpose. It is a responsibility of the state. The state collects taxes, including from IPL, and it is its responsibility to spend that money wisely. Second, Mr. Padgaonkar said emotions are involved, this drought is there. This drought has been there for 2 years. For 2 years in Maharashtra. And where were all of these channels? Where were all of these emotional people asking what is happening to that water? Third, let me just make it clear to Mr. Rakesh Singh that I feel, and we are a free country, that the reason this IPL was launched, my view, by the reason the legal suit was brought about was because maybe Lok Satta feels it needs to get attention. That is what is happening with a lot of these suits, legal suits that are brought against,
we can raise
if you will, on irrelevant issues.
Let-
People are trying to seek attention, are trying to get publicity, and I think it is high time the court stopped recognizing this, and it is high time news media, including this channel, stopped broadcasting this.
Okay.
These are people out for
let's not become
Very
personal
simple.
about Lok Satta. You may have an animus against them, but I don't want this program to get
it's not personal.
hijacked
It is not
in terms
personal.
of a problem
It is
between
not
you
a-
and Rakesh Singh.
It's not personal.
Well, it sounds personal. Let's
No,
not
it's
let
not
it,
personal.
But it will
I want to
deflect
make it
the
very clear.
conversation,
It's
and
not
I want to
personal.
come.
It's an
but
issue.
Maybe, but I want to stick to the facts, and I want to actually explore today in the limited time whether the High Court has actually gone by the wrong facts. And I want to put that to you first, and then I'll come to the others. Writing in the Indian Express on the 9th, Surjit Bhalla pointed out that on the basis each person needs 150 litres of water a day, and secondly, on the basis that 1/6 of Maharashtra is in drought, the water shortage is a total of 540 billion litres over a 6-month period. In contrast, the saving from IPL being cancelled is just 60 lakh litres, which he says is 0.002% of the total water shortage. Is this saving worth making? Or, even if it's a drop in the ocean, is it a correct signal at this time of drought? Which of the two?
No, I think if you want to have a correct signal, you have to convey a long-range solution. If the Supreme Court had shown that there are alternative ways of using water and suggested that as the symbol of the IPL case, things would have been different. If you're only going to talk about convertibility and saving, it won't help.
Okay. What about another point made by Surjit Bhalla in his article on the 9th, and I'll put it to you, Dilip Padgaonkar, and he made it just now as well, that the basic duty of providing water to those people who don't have it is the duty of the state. It is the duty and responsibility in this instance of Mr. Fadnavis as the Chief Minister, and he pays for it from the taxes that he collects. What the High Court has done is to somehow put the onus and blame and responsibility on IPL, whilst forgetting that the state is inactive and not fulfilling its responsibility. It is Mr. Fadnavis who should have been targeted, not IPL.
Well, Karan, Mr. Fadnavis also needs to answer a question that was raised this morning by Chaudhary Birendra Singh, the Union Minister for Rural Development, who said that in the drought-affected states, huge acute water scarcity wherever it exists, something like 1,720 crores of funds provided by the center are stuck at the district level. A big chunk of that has been stuck here in Maharashtra because collectors have not been able to disburse those funds. So really, whether the IPL people want to give 10 crores to the CM's relief fund and so on, all this is, to my mind, a secondary issue. The key question is, why are the funds received from the center so far not being dispersed? That, to me, has to be answered. And I'm afraid the court did not ask that question. That question, too, I think, is far more relevant than the question of shifting these matches out of Pune and Mumbai.
There's another moral question that I want to put to you as President of the Farmers Forum. I would be the first to say that we as a society, we as a state, have a duty to our farmers to ensure they have water to drink, water to survive. But don't farmers equally have a moral duty to grow crops that are appropriate to the conditions of the state where they live? And I'm coming around to say that the water guzzling sugarcane that grows in Maharashtra is completely the wrong crop for an area that is drought prone. Now, Surjit Bhalla, in that article on the 9th, has estimated that in 2014-15, Maharashtra produced 10 billion kilograms of sugar. He says each kilogram used 2,000 liters of water, so the total water used for sugarcane in 1 year was 20 trillion liters. Don't farmers have a responsibility to themselves, to the society in which they live, to say, this is the wrong thing for me to grow in a state which is drought prone?
See, I don't think so. Farmers are at fault. It's government policy which is at fault, which is not giving enough support to, which is not giving equivalent support to other crops which are good for those areas. It's those factories have been put up there, the sugar mills have been put up there. They're not going away anywhere. But if the government was to support with good support for drip irrigation technologies, let me just assure you on behalf of the farmers that the water requirement, what Mr. Surjit Bhalla is saying, would come down by 50%.
So the real problem is the government encouraging the wrong type of crop growing because they give subsidies for it and not amending it.
And India is actually exporting water when it exports rice and other crops and imports rain-fed crops. So actually, it's government policy which is driving farmers to grow crops which they should not be growing.
Let me put this to you, Saad bin Jang. If you look at the whole set of facts and figures that Surjit Bhalla gives in his article of the 9th, you come to the following weird situation. The water shortage for the whole of Maharashtra, estimated over a 6-month period, is 540 billion liters. Sugarcane alone in 1 year uses 20 trillion liters. But the saving from IPL is just 60 lakh liters. Given those figures, is it really worth scrapping? In fact, is it fair to scrap all matches in Maharashtra after the 30th?
Karan, firstly, it's a drought, and the drought is a national issue. It's not a Maharashtra-specific issue. So if IPL has to be scrapped, it should just be scrapped. But now, Karan, you've addressed something really important. For 30 years, I've been a conservationist ever since I gave up cricket. The saddest part, and when I go to Africa, I get this question every time. India does not have a standalone conservation law, which is terrifying. A conservation law forces you to embrace the local people, forces the officials and the locals to speak to each other, be in dialogue, constant dialogue. You have this horrendous Draconian Protection Act followed by some other very old acts which actually don't see the ground level reality. There is no implementation. So if the PMO or the PM is watching this, for heaven's sake, come out with a standalone conservation law which every country in Africa has. And this is the problem.
Okay.
You're not in dialogue with the people who are affected and you want to live in denial. And IPL being made a scapegoat, if the water from the venues is not going to be transported, it's, I'm afraid, the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. For heaven's sake, you're sacrificing this for what?
Okay.
Is it symbolic sacrifice? Politicians don't understand symbolic sacrifices.
Okay,
I mean, the CM must be really upset that he hasn't got 10 crore into his fund. For whatever he would have used that for.
Let me bring in Rakesh Singh at that point. Saad, I'm going to stop you. I want to bring in Rakesh Singh because we're running out of time. We have a truncated program because of that horrible earthquake that happened earlier. Rakesh Singh, I want to ask you, A very simple question. How do farmers or the residents of Marathwada and Vidarbha either lose out, or how do they in any way suffer if the IPL uses non-potable sewage water which has been treated? Because you can't drink it, even animals can't drink it, and the government, by the way, is making no effort to get that treated sewage water for farming purposes to Marathwada either. So if they don't use it, no one else will be using it. So my question is, how do farmers suffer if IPL uses it?
That's what you are saying, that nobody is using it. But before coming to that, let's
answer
try
my
to
question,
understand
because I
the
haven't
real
got time for
situation
you
in
to
Maharashtra.
go off on a tangent. Answer this question. I'm running out of time.
That's what you feel it. But the thing is that those water are quite useful for agriculture. So
But
you
no
cannot
one's
say that
getting
is
it
not
there
useful
for
agriculture.
agricultural purposes. The government isn't about to transport the treated sewage water. The government is
should
not
do
touching
it. Government should transport them.
But nothing in the court order will make the government do so. Now that water will just not be used by anyone.
So please understand, this is just an interim order. This is not the final order. We have relief against the government.
Well, we don't know what will happen, so you can't hold today's discussion in anticipation of something that may or may not happen 2 weeks from now. Let's leave that out. That's getting hypothetical. Sujit Bala, my last question to you. The IPL is not just a cricket match. It provides employment in a multiplicity of ways. Hotels and restaurants, travel. People who work in those businesses earn money, they get jobs. The money they earn gets spent on their families. Those families spend it in shops. Shopkeepers in turn buy more, and a whole cycle of economic productivity takes place. That is going to be truncated, in some places short-circuited. What impact will that have on Maharashtra at this time when Maharashtra needs money and needs activity?
Well, there are some positive things that might come out of this whole fiasco. And that is that people will begin to question what the High Court does, and, if you will, question what chief ministers elected to the state are doing vis-a-vis their responsibilities. So I think sooner or later, the blame will stop at the door of Fadnavis, and the blame will stop at the door of the High Court. And I think this is the only silver lining that I see coming out of this entire stupid decision.
Your hand went up. Do you accept that the overall cost to the economy of Maharashtra is something the High Court simply wasn't even aware of?
Yeah, they did not think about it, and I think it's wrong to blame the present Chief Minister because the crisis he has inherited in the first place. But as a farmers' organization, on this platform, which is viewed by so many viewers, I have an offer to make to IPL that if they put up a board like this which says farmers are committing suicide, let's help, in all the stadiums we support them for this. Because we need to highlight.
In other words, let IPL go ahead, but put up those...
Yeah, boards, and maybe they can increase the offer of 10 crores to 100 crores. They're making lots of money in spite of what Mr. Bhalla is saying.
Very, very quickly, it comes down to one simple issue. That A, judges didn't appreciate what was being offered because, as you said at the beginning, it was a good offer they've rejected. And B, they haven't actually taken on board the total economic cost to the state of cancelling this activity, because loads of other activities, jobs and money that would have been made will now be affected. Do judges need to think much more carefully about the economic consequences of their decisions rather than get swayed by television or emotion or prejudice?
See, I think there's something called conspicuous debates. It's on TV, it's sometimes in courts, and the social cost of these debates in misleading people is tremendous. I think somewhere someone should start measuring the cost of misleading debates. Let me put it this way. Suppose I just removed agriculture and said hotels waste as much water. This debate will go on endlessly. I think what you need is a different kind of attitude where we go beyond superficial economics to a real understanding of the costs of decision making.
Okay, I'm going to translate you for the audiences who may not have fully understood and perhaps put it through more bluntly than you did. Judges need to think carefully about what they're doing and know a lot more about the economic and even moral consequences of their decisions, and not be so convinced that because they think they're right, they are actually right. Judges can often be wrong,
and devastatingly wrong.
And maybe in this case they are. My thanks to both of you for joining me, and I'm particularly grateful that the president of the Farmers Association is nodding in agreement with me. My thanks also to my other guests. And if you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Now, Munir is still to be arrested. He is the prime suspect in this case. He's also related to the NIA DSP, is what UP police sources are telling India Today. We will continue to track that story. But moving on, one of India's most famous women bikers, Veenu Paliwal, she's passed away in a road accident. Now, Paliwal died in a motorcycle accident in Madhya Pradesh's Vidisha district.